If you haven't caught on to it by now, let me give you a little hint. Iran is not a serious country. They approached the negotiations this weekend in Pakistan with JD Vance with an attitude that was incredibly bellicose, arrogant, and foolish. They may have been watching too much Tucker Carlson, which filled them with delusions that the America First Vice President would eagerly roll over for Iran's demands, eager to keep us out of war in the Middle East. What he didn't realize is that JD Vance is no fool and does not have the misguided conception of America First as an isolationist, you do whatever you want as long as it's not in our backyard kind of attitude. Rather, JD Vance came in with the same priorities that have characterized the good presidents like the Trump administration for quite a while, with demands along the lines of Iran needs to stop uranium enrichment, they need to dismantle their nuclear facilities, they need to surrender their enriched uranium, they need to stop funding terrorism across the world through their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and they need to open the Strait of Hormuz because we don't allow them to control global trade. Hello. These are fairly reasonable demands. And if someone wants to present that they think these demands are unreasonable, well, I guess you'd be in alignment with Iran because Iran says that these are excessive demands that are complete non-starters. Well, that's a problem because Iran is a highly unstable regime that is cruel and unusual to its own people. They slaughter their own protesters. They hate our guts. They hate Israel. Not that I care too much, right? Because as an America First person, my first concern is not protecting Israel, it's protecting our country. But it does materially matter that these people hate our allies, so it's worth mentioning. They hate everything we stand for, and they don't want to accept our terms. Well, what do you think Iran approached? If that's what we brought to the table, what is it that Iran brought? Here's Iran's demands before they even start negotiating. This is before they even discuss a way to end the war and have lasting peace. This is what they wanted to insist on. Full Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't work because a tremendous amount of the world's economy is dependent on the oil that passes through that strait. If Iran gets upset at a particular country and wants to block them off from using that strait, that's a tremendous amount of control that is not even precedented. Like, they haven't been allowed to control the strait in the past, so I don't know why we'd start letting them do it now when they've proved that they're filthy liars. For instance, they've always claimed, we can't even hit Europe with our missiles. Why are you so worried? We would never do that, and we can't. Well, what do you know? They sent 2 missiles at Diego Garcia, proving that they were liars and could hit Europe the entire time. So, anyways, they want sovereignty over that strait. Judge for yourself whether that's something that we ought to be giving them. Then secondly, offensively, they want complete war reparations. Now, whatever that means in practice, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows because the way this negotiation has been conducted is basically just scratches on the back of a napkin. But what that sounds like to me, in obvious, clear English, is they want to be paid back for everything that they've been cost in this war. So I would imagine what they're demanding is the United States pay them back for the construction of their Navy, pay them back for the construction of their nuclear facilities and their ballistic missile arsenals. Who knows what it would include in its entirety, but it's incredibly offensive that these people walk up to negotiations with our vice president, assuming that not only are we just going to back away from our demands of nuclear enrichment stopping for them, but they're going to demand control over global trade, us paying them back for the damages of the war, and then also a third thing they want is their frozen assets to be unconditionally released. By the way, every Republican piled on to Joe Biden for unfreezing Iranian assets back in his term, rightly, because Iran uses assets to fund terrorism across the world. This is well known. It's not controversial. They've done this for a very long time. They're quite open with it. The terror proxies owe their allegiance to Iran and turn to Iran for instructions on who to kill and who to attack. So in freeing those assets, which Joe Biden erroneously claimed was, well, we told them not to use it for terrorism, we told them to use it for humanitarian purposes, obviously hoping we'd forget that money is fungible and that any money given to Iran will in some sense be used to fund terrorism, right? I mean, if they use the money that we unfroze for them to pay for food, then they'll just use their food money to pay for terrorism, right? And then the fourth one is they want a durable ceasefire for the entire region. And to me, at first, that sounded the most harmless. Well, sure, if we can come to peaceful terms, I guess. But think about what that means. Iran is demanding that we settle by committing to no longer fire any weapons in that entire region. which means we would, if we were to abide by these demands, not have the ability to project force against any terrorists in that entire part of the world. This is basically Iran getting absolutely thrashed in war. Their leaders getting killed, their entire board of clerics getting reduced to rubble, their navy sent to the bottom of the ocean, like 90% of their ships are totally gone. We've destroyed a huge percentage of their ballistic missiles and their air defense capacity. We had air superiority over their country, and then they walk into negotiations with our vice president ready to throw away our demands, and they seem to think they have the cards. They seem to think, when they walked into this meeting, that they actually have the negotiating power to throw their weight around here and demand that we upend decades of precedent, the results of American power brokering in the region, and just roll over for them and say, yeah, sure, go ahead. We'll just step out. We will let you control the Middle East. Well, here's the problem. Iran is a sworn enemy of the United States. America didn't pick this fight. Israel didn't pick this fight for us. Sorry, conspiracy theorists. Iran hates us. Why? Because they are Muslims, and the religion of Islam hates Christianity and hates the West because the West is founded on Christianity. It is the oldest and longest running fight the world has ever seen that is run basically continuously up to now. And American Westerners seem to have forgotten that we're in this fight at all. People like Tucker Carlson seem to whitewash Iran and act like there's some sort of utopic, really right-wing, beautiful place where everyone's living in paradise out there. Completely misleading. Iran is a barbaric, nasty place, okay? You don't want to live in Iran. They cut off your hands, they hang you for protesting, they hate Christianity, and the Bible is essentially illegal in parts of the world that Muslims control. If you're an American Christian, you do not need to be trying to be on Iran's good side. To allow them to control that region of the world is to grant them a tremendous gift that would be incredibly dangerous for us. We've been the victims of terrorist attacks in the United States. Our troops have been the victims of attacks like the attacks on the USS Cole, the Beirut bombings, bombings on various barracks and embassies across the world, and it's all been done through the terror proxies that Iran funds for the obvious reason that they hate us. And so to give them an even greater source of income through the Strait of Hormuz, to free up their assets to really just do whatever they want and go hog wild crazy on the terrorism by freeing their frozen assets, to then pay them back for war reparations and build their war machine up, and to basically commit to just leave the region and let them do what they want, is not America First. It is a complete abandonment of American power projection. It's a complete abandonment of being the world power, and is to relegate us to hiding ourselves in our closet and just contenting ourselves to deal with welfare reform. That's not an American posture. That's not a patriotic posture. And I don't really want to hear that this is some Israeli conspiracy. Does Israel want to pursue their own interests, and would they like to have us fight on their behalf and do their dirty work? Yeah, you betcha. And American leaders need to be cognizant of this and not acquiesce to Israel's demands just because they're our ally. I think overall, Donald Trump does a pretty good job of doing this. He and Benjamin Netanyahu get in pretty public disagreements where Donald Trump will tell Benjamin Netanyahu to tone it down, and Donald Trump will do things that Netanyahu doesn't like or are counter to Benjamin Netanyahu's interests. So if you're looking at the news rationally, and you have a good grasp on history and a good grasp on the times that doesn't come out of podcasters and doesn't come out of the comment sections on alternative social media sites, you realize that while Israel may have an undue influence, I'll grant that, they totally do, there is not an arrangement where Benjamin Netanyahu is using Donald Trump like a marionette on a string, and to me that's just the denial of basic facts. It's to insist that the world accept a model of events that has no evidence in real life other than conjecture and some very, very loose affiliations with a lobbying group like IPAC. Like, for example, IPAC. I'm sick and tired of hearing of IPAC, to be honest. They're problematic. Again, I hate right now that I sound like I'm defending Israel, because believe me, I don't like Israel. But it's going to be hard for me to make a video criticizing Israel when the tenor of the times that I see is all this anti-Israel stuff to the point of excess.